Are you ready to be great? Stop letting self-doubt, insecurity, and fear prevent you from building your business. This morning, wake up to success. Here's John Preston.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us here on Wake Up to Success. Today, I want to share a personal story with you that occurred to me recently that has really got me thinking about the world and what it takes to be successful. And I'm not talking a little bit successful, but a lot successful. As you know, if you pay attention to this podcast, I do a lot of reading of books designed to put you in a better position to be successful. I try to share all of those things with you here on this cast. As you know, there are a lot of books out there that outline what it takes to become wealthy and to achieve great success. Now, several of these, the first of which is Wallace Wattles' The Science of Getting Rich in 1910. Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill in 1934. You Are a Badass at Making Money, Jensen Chera. Several of these books all focus on this higher power, this creative power in the universe, that when you do certain things, when you think a certain way, and when you visualize success and you take the right steps towards getting there, that this success will be manifested for you. Now, I'm not yet convinced that I believe that in that way. What I believe, I think, is that when you do these things suggested in all of these books, that you put yourself in a much better position to make the right decisions and be in the right place at the right time for success to happen. And I think that is the key. You know, things like gratitude, expressing gratitude. All these books talk about the power of expressing gratitude. But here's the thing. When you are being thankful for what you have, you're not worrying about the future, and you're not dwelling on mistakes that you've made in the past, and you're not beating yourself up for the things you don't have. Obviously, in that situation, you're much more equipped to make good decisions to be successful. Now, I say all of that to say this. One of the books I'm currently reading or listening to, I do a lot of audiobooks, is a book called Homeless to Billionaire. It's the story of Andres Pira, who was born in Sweden. As soon as he turned 18, he set out on the world to find his fortune. He blew all of his money when he got to Thailand and was homeless on the streets. And he called a friend of his to borrow money. And the guy said, well, I'm not going to loan you any money, but I'm going to send you a book. And, you know, as you can imagine, Andres was very angry about that. He didn't need a book. He needed money. But the book came, and it was the book, The Secret. Now, The Secret is based on Wallace Wattles' The Science of Getting Rich. And so he was angry at first, and then he decided he was so angry, he was going to spite his friend by doing everything in this book exactly like it was outlined. And then he was going to call his friend back a couple months later and say, look, I did all of this. I'm still living on the streets. Now will you send me some money? Unfortunately, that plan did not work out. His life started to change almost immediately. And 9 years later, he's one of the richest men in Thailand, worth well over $1 billion, with worldwide companies. And so when we look at that, and we look at that trajectory he had, all tied to reading The Secret, we can see how it put his life on a right path by putting his mind in the right frame. Now, as far as this creative energy goes, he didn't really believe it at first either. He didn't really put a lot of faith into it until one day when his business was doing pretty well. He was up to where he was making about $120,000, and he visited an orphanage. Now, these kids touched his heart. He knew immediately he had to do something to help them. The orphanage was getting run down, it was threatening to be closed, and so he needed to know how much it would take to save it. And the director told him $80,000. And even though it was 2/3 of what he had, he wrote the check, and he felt awesome about writing the check. And the next day he gets a call from a business associate that he hadn't heard with in months on a deal he thought was dead. And the guy wanted to meet with him to talk about the project. And so they met for lunch, and he signed a deal. And when he tallied up everything his company was going to make from this deal, the biggest he'd ever had, it tallied up to $1,080,000. And he said he never doubted it again. Now, I listened to this while I was at the gym early one morning, and I just was sitting there thinking, would it really hurt me to visualize, to being more successful? And so I got out to the car and I sat in the car there in the gym parking lot and pictured what it would feel like to pay off my mortgage and for the look on my wife's face as we tore up that mortgage completely paid off. And then I visualized what it would be like to pay for a vacation for my parents and my brother and his family. And it just the good feelings I would feel from being able to do that for them. And then that was it. I went home, took a shower. A couple hours later, I got a phone call from a business owner, a very well-known name in the industry I work with, and who just wanted to pick my brain for advice. Of all the people in the world he could have called, he chose to call me for advice. And now we're going to be having lunch soon to discuss some solutions to some problems he was having. And now I don't know what will become of that, but it's just interesting that it happened 2 hours after I visualized this change. And then also I get home and I'm telling my wife about it. And she gets this look on her face like, huh. And she goes to the room and she comes back with an envelope with $500 in it that she found while trying to find some paperwork for our taxes. No idea where it came from. We suspect it was left over from a vacation one time we took some cash on, but we don't know for sure. And so I'm still not going to say I buy into the whole manifestation thing, but the bottom line is this. When you put yourself in a position to be successful, with the right frame of mind to be successful and do the things you need to do to be successful, don't be surprised when success finds you. Don't be surprised when you look up one day and suddenly the success you've looked for is right in front of you and you're now living the life you want to live. Now, over the next few episodes, we're going to go deeper into this story of homeless to billionaire because in this, Andres outlines 18 principles that he learned from The Secret and other books that really have guided his life from being homeless to being a billionaire. And he wants to share those with you. Many of these secrets are just that. They're just simple secrets to keep in mind that will put your mind in the right place and the right frame to be successful. So that's going to be what we cover recently. In the meantime, I just want to assure you that from now on, visualization is going to be part of my morning, just in case.